Hello and welcome to Boomer and Beyond Wellness. I'm Angela Fischetti. So today's workout is going to be upper body workout done in a chair. And I just want to say a comment here. I can't help but express this. I know all about the expression of sitting is the new smoking, and I understand the intent of it. I think it's an important message, but I don't think that it's a very kind message to those who find that due to health or work circumstances that they must be in a chair either all day long, every day, or the better part of a day. And so I would like to kind of reframe how we look at a chair and not really make it the enemy. And to look at it from the perspective that it can really be a tool to help us to strength train. So I provided in the community tab a really cool meta-analysis, a whole bunch of studies and a summary of all of them that basically show that over a course of several years in various senior facilities throughout the country that people were able to build strength by doing their workouts in a chair. So let's really take advantage of our chairs now and really put this to work. The accessories we'll be using today will be a sticky yoga mat. I'm using a yoga bolster. However, if you have like a thick cushion or a thick pillow at home, you can use that as well. I'm using a wide variety of weights. They're all over the place. And what I'm working with today are between 3 and 15 pounds. And then let's talk about the chair. Chair needs to be armless and without wheels, please, just for safety's sake. Now let's discuss how we sit in a chair. So I often find that as people get older, they sit with their feet underneath the chair. Well, if you have knee issues, that's kind of like a hyperflexion on the knees. It's a lot of compression on the knees. So bring the feet a little forward. I'm going to look down and I'm going to line up ankles to knees to the inside of that high pelvic bone. You know, if you've been following my work, that this is how I line up hips width apart. I'm finding that iliac crest, that high pelvic bone, and then I'm lining up to the inside of that high pelvic bone. So here you go, ankle, knees to hips. Now, the other thing is I borrow this adjustment from yoga. I bring the hands underneath the buttock flesh, pull the flesh not only straight back, but then wick it out wide toward the shoulders. And what does this do? Well, it allows us to sit up and forward on the front edge of the ilium, one of those hip bones at the pelvis. And in particular, the location is at the ischial tuberosity, and this area is known as the sits bone. So that's how we sit in a chair. Now, as far as medical disclaimers, there's a whole bunch I'm going to list here, folks, but let's remind you that though these medical disclaimers are geared toward people who have or had them in the past or have them in the present, obviously. And but if you've never had these issues, do not be fearful. You will not bring them on from doing these exercises, especially if you're following what I'm saying to you. So here we go. Any back spine issue whatsoever in your life, especially if you've been told not to bend down and pick up something, that puts your spine into a back flexion, a forward flexion of the spine. So, and also those of you with postural deviations, in particular, what I'm thinking about is hyperkyphosis. That's sort of where you have that hunched appearance. Now, these are typically brought on by more severe cases of osteoporosis, but this medical disclaimer is not only exclusive to osteoporosis and postural deviations. If you've been told not to bend forward, you need to pay attention, okay? And if you're medicated or not for hypertension, which is also high blood pressure, if you had GERD, vertigo, if you have any kind of rotator cuff muscle issue within those shoulders, especially the supraspinatus, carpal tunnel syndrome, pinched nerve, if you've ever had a transient ischemic attack, a TIA, or a stroke. And finally, golfer's elbow, which is medial epicondylitis, and lateral epicondylitis, which is tennis elbow. And I have to tell you something. I read a lot of studies here, did a lot of research on these two issues, and I do have to say, I don't really trust any pre-existing exercise protocols that are supposed to help golfers in tennis elbow. From what I can read and understand, it's really individual, and it's based on the knowledge that you gather from your medical health care practitioner. So for those two, please, really, I would advise you to go and speak to your medical health care practitioner. For the rest of you, I would like you not to jump in right away to participate with the video. Hold on to that enthusiasm. I would like you to preview the video first. Look for what you can do, because I promise you it will be there, especially the way that I teach and design the classes. Something will be there for everyone to be able to do. But if you're still concerned after watching the video, then I would invite the medical health care practitioner who knows your body best to screen the video as well, and then help you make an informed decision. Now, how we're going to work here today is we're going to do a warm-up. Even though I have a warm-up and a cool-down video on the channel, we are going to warm up because we're going to be doing 12 exercises today, and we're going to execute every one of them. A full set. A set is a group of repetitions. We'll be doing 8 to 15. Without any equipment. So this is to help those of you with the pre-existing issues, those of you who have never exercised before, or those of you who have never really approached strength training. So I'm also asking you to please pay attention to hydration, and also to stop and rest whenever you need to. And I'm just trying to see, did I talk about all our accessories? Yes, we did. I'm just checking our notes. And that's it. We're ready to go, folks. So the first exercise, now here's a clue. Whenever I precede something with the words bent over, forget it. Contraindicated for the back, spine issues and postural deviations. So you're going to remain upright. Technically, what we'll be doing is the bent over back row with a narrow grip. A narrow grip, meaning that the palms are facing each other. So it's going to look like this. I'm going to show first for those of you with the issues, I'm going to do a couple of repetitions without any weight upright, but then I'm going to go into the bent over without the resistance. We're just going to complete the set without the resistance. So we're going to begin upright with the arms out in front, and we're going to pull. Inhale, exhale, pull. So you exhale on the effort, that's the pull. Now I'm going to bend over. I'm basically hinging from the hips and pull. So now you want to think about starting an old-fashioned lawnmower. Exhale on the effort, that's the pull. Control the release. We're not looking to go speed demon. It's not about how many can I get in a short period of time. No, it's not. Because when you add those weights, it will make a difference. We're working on that scapular retraction, shoulder blades being drawn toward each other, belly button in. We're going for one more hold and slowly come on up. The next exercise basically is a counter position. We're doing an incline chest press. So for this one, we want to make sure those of you with tennis, golfer's elbow, is it all right for you? But also for, if you're medicated or not, for hypertension, if you have rotator cuff or pinched nerve issues. So let's show you without being on an incline for the chest press, with a wide grip, what it will look like, and join in, and then I'm going to go into the incline. So exhale, push. Now instead of the pull, it's the emphasis is on the push out in front. Pectoralis front, delt, tricep participates. So I'm going to lean back And exhale, push. Incline chest press. Take your time, 8 to 15 repetitions. Now, careful, if you want to look up, that's great. But those of you with TIA, transient ischemic attack or stroke, I'm going to suggest you keep your heads neutral, not looking up. Otherwise, go for it. So we want to push that heavy door open. We want to push that heavy grocery cart with the hips, of course, helping us. Hold here. Relax the arms down. Next exercise will be a lat, short for latissimus dorsi, pull down, and the latissimus dorsi is also known as the big swimmer's muscle. Now, for some of you, again, golfers, tennis elbow might be an issue, hypertension, rotator cuff, pinched nerve is a possibility. So I'm going to show you another alternative for a couple of repetitions. It's called an upright row. Now you keep your wrists straight, lead from the elbows. But for the rest of us, I'm going to lean back a bit, I'm going to bring the arms up, and then I'm going to arc the arms in. So I'm thinking about pulling something super heavy. Elbows toward the ribs, but they don't touch the ribs. Exhale. I'm talking about the sides of the ribs. So we're moving that the scapulae, I should say, the plural, moving the scapulae, those shoulder blades, they fan out and then they retract. Exhale, that big swimmer's muscle. What's also helping that swimmer's muscle here would be biceps, deltoids. Oh, and the lats little helper called the teres major. Watch looking up for TIA and stroke. One more. Exhale. Lovely. I'm going to stay back here. I'm going to stay here because now I'm going to do a decline pec fly, done a little differently. So we're going to bring the arms down low. And when you have weights in your hands, man, this makes a difference. So I'm going to scoop up and under the breast tissue. Keep that chest puffed up. Don't allow the abdominal muscles to pull you down into a seated abdominal crunch. When you have the weights in your hands, you're going to feel the forearms, the biceps. And I've tied in a number of exercises today that incorporate the wrists and forearms. As you know, this is indeed an osteoporotic site, as well as get those strong as well. Just a few more here. Decline pec fly. One more. And slowly release. Now, the next one is going to be careful, bent over, rear delt fly. So for those of you with the issues, I'm going to show you a few repetitions upright, like so. And the emphasis is going to be posterior side of the body. Exhale. Shoulder blades will definitely retract, but you don't have to force them. And also, I need you to be careful of this. A lot of times people do this. They do a forward head projection or forward neck projection. Don't let that happen, right? So now I'm going to do it bent over. Exhale. Keep the chin up, folks. Don't let the head hang down, especially if medicated or not for hypertension, GERD, and vertigo. I want the cervical spine at the neck to match the position of the lumbar spine of the low back, and they both have a natural lordotic curve, which is like a little subtle back bend or a little back extension. One more. Exhale and slowly lower. Let's take it up. Now, I'm going to grab my bolster. Now, you may have heard a motorcycle out there. I'm in South Beach, folks. I film morning, afternoon, night, and it's never quiet. Okay, just so you know. So I'm working now on wrist pronation, supination. Caution. Those of you with carpal tunnel, do not allow the wrist to bend, especially like this in that extension position. Total contraindication. Straight wrist. So we're going to rest the elbows, forearms on the bolster or your cushion. The wrists are off, they're dangling, right? So we want to hold here steady. Now, when I go to use my weights, you'll see I'll probably start in a supinated position, but pronation means face down. Then I dig down into my elbows, puff up the chest to supinate, face up, face down, face up. So the count would be 1, 1, 2, 2. That's how you work this. Big deal when you have weights in your hands. So I'm working between 3 and 15 pounds today when I actually use the weights. And I've noticed for sure I have to drop the weight down when I'm sitting in a chair because you don't have those large lower body muscles like your glutes or the hip muscles, your quads, your hamstrings. None of that is helping you very much, right, in the chair. We can do things to engage them. I'm going to go for one more of each. Great. And just shake it out a little bit. Flap the wrists, flick the fingers. Okay, I'm going to get rid of the bolster for the moment. And the next round is around the world with a reverse bicep curls. Now, around the world, we got to be careful, medicated or not, for hypertension. Maybe you've been told not to lift anything overhead. Pinched nerve at the neck and rotator cuff muscle issues. So what you're going to do instead of around the world, we're all going to be in the same start position, not alongside the hip. Why? Because I want to hack this exercise. I want to get away from the rotator cuff. Now I've bypassed that pesky supraspinatus, okay? So here we go. For you folks, delt abduction, going away from the midline, delt adduction, going toward the midline. For the rest of us, I'm going to go right on into it. Here's around the world. No clanking of the weights overhead. You only go to the range of motion, the height that your shoulders will allow. It's not about no pain, no gain, folks. That's a bunch of crap, particularly as we get more seasoned in life, is what I'll call it, okay? But you do want to work at an acceptable level of muscular discomfort for you, whatever that might be, I don't know, but certainly not pain in a joint. I do have within the community tab as well a rating of perceived exertion chart for you, fantastic subjective chart, and I suggest for our demographic to work at an RPE of 3 to 6. 2 more. Now, when you have the weights in your hands, you're going to want to come down fast, resist it by pushing down into your feet, pull that belly button in. Give me another 2. So on this one in particular, you're going to notice those core muscles working, the transverse abdominis, the deepest of the core, your internal girdle, internal corset, the erector spinae muscles of the back. You'll even feel your quads working here. And the next one, those reverse bicep curls, this too, folks, when you go to do the exercise, make sure that you're not breaking at the wrist here. With carpal tunnel, definitely none of this stuff, none of that wrist extension. So we want the straight wrist. There you go. Is the belly button pulled in? Are you breathing in and out through your nose? If you can't, that's okay. Some of you might have COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. You want to talk to your therapists about using pursed lip breathing for your exercise if you're not using it already. And breathe. Nice. Couple more repetitions. Again, when you have weights in your hands, whoo, lots of work, forearm, wrists, and lower the arms down. Let's do a little shake out. Okay, next round, overhead tricep extension. Could be issues for pinched nerve, rotator cuff, carpal tunnel. Just watch the position of the wrist. Those of you medicated or not for hypertension, and then Those dang golfers and tennis elbow again on all the bicep and tricep work. Okay, so the overhead tricep extension. Let's show you all something else, those of you with the pre-existing issues. So I'm going to bring the arms back behind me. I'm going to do a tricep press back, but with the palms facing straight back. And on the exhale, I'm thinking I'm gliding my knuckles along the floor. I'm pushing down into the feet, pulling the belly button in so that I don't do this forward head projection, thinking I'm going further back. Nuh-uh, real bad for the cervical spine. So none of that. Keep that chest up, sit tall and proud. And if you're not sitting back into the chair, that's great. As long as you're not hurting yourself, if you need back support, use your bolster, use your cushion. Posterior deltoid, tricep muscle. Just a couple more repetitions. Notice I'm not swinging the arms forward with momentum. I'm placing it. Pause at the peak of the contraction right here, and then slowly release. We're coming directly into bicep curls, watch it please, for golfers and tennis elbow. And we're going to supinate and then pronate. Push down at the feet to sit tall. Basic bicep curls. Supinate and pronate. So you engage the bicep muscle at its best when you add that supination. So you want those strong biceps and triceps to help you to actually help those larger muscles. So especially for the push-pull, right? And bicep muscles, well, every time I bend down and pick up my beautiful T, the cat, and my elbows are bent, that's recruiting my bicep muscles. They're flexing the elbows. You might be doing the same thing with your grandchildren. Maybe you're also carrying your groceries. Exhale. One more. And slowly down. Now, I'm going to do the tricep press back. So I'm going to do it now with the narrow grip. The palms face each other. Straight back and release. So what do we need those strong triceps for? Well, they're going to help everything that pushes out in front. They're going to assist the chest. They're going to assist the front shoulder. So maybe you're pushing that heavy grocery cart, that stroller with the grandkids. Maybe you're pushing open a super heavy door. Or maybe you're like I am, if something goes wrong with the car, and I slam that hood of the car right down. Well, that's actually tricep is involved on that. A couple of more repetitions here. Reach it back, but without forward head projection. Palms face each other. One more. And then I'm going to come into muscle woman, muscle man. Elbows slightly higher than the shoulders. When you add the weights, you're going to feel those forearms. You're going to feel those wrists. Exhale. Curl it. And curl. No slouchy. Try not to keep dropping the elbows down. If you need to rest your neck, give it a break. Give those shoulders a break because they're isometrically contracting here to keep you upright. Lower them down. Take a couple of breaths and then join back in. Last one. When you have weights in, draw the elbows in and slowly lower. Let's say take some shoulder rolls just for the moment. Flap. Shake them out. Hands, fingers, flick the fingers. And now we're going to go right for it. Folks, I'm not going to repeat the contraindications. You know them now, because we went over them already, and certainly on the replays, pay attention to that. All right, bent over back row, narrow grip. I'm grabbing 10-pounders for this. Sitting a little forward on that chair. Hinging from the hip. Exhale, pull, pause. Make sure those elbows get up there. Make sure that chin is lifted. No looking down. You can focus your eyes down, but it's really hard to do that without the rest of the head following. One more. Onto the thighs. All right. Next exercise is going to be that incline chest press, but this time I'm going to bring in the bolster for you, give you some support here, and I'm going to grab my 8-pound weights with that. So it's a way to turn your chair into a workout bench, leaning back, and here we go. Push. Exhale, push. Careful of the looking up or TIA and stroke. It's not so much looking up as it is really dropping the head back to lift that chin. And push. Exhale. Pectoralis major, front deltoid, tricep, even bicep on the way down. Last one. Oh man, slowly toward you. Now I'm going to keep the weights here for the next exercise because the next one is the lat pull down. So remember, those of you who are doing upright row, I'm going to come here a little bit leaning back and arc it. There we go. There was too much of a collapse. Arc it. Oh man. Exhale. Last one. Oh, and in toward each other. Down to the lap. Okay. I'm going to grab my 5-pound weights here for that decline pec fly, using my bolster, leaning into it a bit, scoop up and under the breast tissue. Make sure that you stay hydrated. Stop and rest when you need to. Just don't quit. One more. Whoa. Yeah, man. Okay, I'm going to set the weights down because I'm going to use them on this next exercise. This is the bent over rear delt fly, posterior deltoid fly. Hinging from the hips. And I'm weak here, but I'm going to keep trying. Last one. And down and slowly come back up. Okay, I'm going to grab the bolster again because now we're going to do the wrist pronation and supination. And I'm going to grab my 12-pound weights for this. Okay, yes, we are sweating. So elbows, now when you're really weighted, okay, pressing into that cushion, lift the chest, no collapsing. Pronate, supinate, face down, face up. This really helps too when you're trying to open jars, twisting and turning doorknobs. Keep that chest up, Angela. One more of each. Whoa, I'm gonna slide on there. Okay, setting this down. The next one is without the bolster, the around the world. That's where I need my lightest weight. So I'm just going in a seated position, definitely just 3 pounds. You know about your delt abduction, adduction. Here we go. So my palms face you. Your palms face me. Yes, so it is Miami Beach, and we are on the first ever alert for heat index. And we had a water main break today in South Beach, so we had no water. Like, really glad I keep extra stuff. And exhale. Exhale on the effort. Inhale and exhale through the nose. If you can't, that's okay. Chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Might want to talk to your therapists about pursed lip breathing. One more. Slowly down, bring it on in. So now, excuse me, we're going to do the reverse bicep curls. And I'm going to grab 10 pounders for this. Sitting tall. Lots of work on the forearms, wrists. Yep. Even with the apartment fully air conditioned, overhead fan, and I typically have 4 tower fans running. Still hot, but just keep yourselves hydrated. It's not just here, it's going on in a lot of areas around the country. 2 more. Exhale on that effort. Yeah, and carefully set them down. Now what I want to do is, let me just bring these forward a bit. Now we're going to do that overhead tricep extension. I'm grabbing a 15 pounder. So now we have the collars of the weight, okay? The collars of the weight. So I'm taking my hand, and the inner webbing between my thumb and my index finger wraps around the handle, the bar of the weight, and the other fingers wrap around the collar. This hand does the same, just on top of the bottom hand, okay? So we bring the weight up, elbows fully extended, then the elbows lower the weight behind the midline of your skull. Exhale. Notice when you lower, the elbows go a little bit wider. When you extend, the elbows narrow toward each other. Careful. The tendency is to really arch the low back. So if you need support behind you, sitting in the chair to prevent that little twerking in the seat, it's not a good idea to do that. Anterior pelvic tilt. We want a little bit of a posterior tuck, posterior pelvic tilt. Exhale. Exhale, pause at the peak of the contraction, right up here. Exhale, ooh la la. Let's go for 2 more. 1 more. Ooh, easy, lowering it down. And now we're going to do bicep curls. Now, typically when I work standing, I work with 16 or 18 pounds for my bicep curls. In the chair, I'm right down to 12. That's it. And sitting tall, I'm going to add that supination, then that pronation. That supination and the pronation. Exhale. Strong arms carry the groceries. Strong arms carry the grandbabies. So it's, I think, even a little more challenging in a chair because you can't really hug your outer upper ribs with your inner upper arms. No flailing of the elbows forward and back. Wow, push down into those feet to help you. Last one. And slowly down. Now we're going to do tricep press back, but this time I'm going to do it with a narrow grip as opposed to the palms facing back. I'm going to sit back just a little bit, clear the chair. There we go. And keep pushing them back there, pressing back, I should say. Now, I don't fling forward, folks. No, don't do that stuff. That's momentum. We want to stay on the muscle. So even when you have nothing in your hands, you can just really imagine that you're trying to push something super heavy back away from your torso. Or maybe you're trying to reach back and hold something there. Pause. Exhale on the effort. Chest nice and high. No, none of this with the forward head projection. 2 more. 1 more. Okay, now I'm going to grab my weights. I know I demonstrated it again, but we're going to grab the weights here now. And now we'll tie them in. Yeah. Now I think I have to go a little further back in the chair. Oh yeah, there's the difference. Back of the shoulder, posterior deltoid is working here. Triceps are working. Oh my goodness. 1 more. I'm going to rest them just for a moment on my thighs. And out. Muscle woman, muscle man. Elbows a little higher than the shoulders. Lots of forearm work. Lots of bicep shoulder work. Belly button in, sit tall. I'm not sitting fully back into the chair because I want my torso to work. But I do have my hips further back. Exhale. One more. And slowly bring them in. Ay, ay, ay. Set the weights down. And if you don't mind, before we stretch, I'm taking off these gloves because it is hot. All right, so let's do some nice stretching. First off, to counter the forward flexion, the spine flexion, let's do some back extension, all right? So I'm going to sit forward on the chair. I'm bringing my hands through the window of the legs. You know what? I'm going to turn this so you can see a little bit. Here we go. You can hold on to the chair. Now, carpal tunnel is not going to do it this way, right? You're going to hold on to more of a flat surface so you don't have a wrist extension. I'm going to puff up the chest, roll shoulders back. Oh, really nice. So you open up the chest muscles here. You're stretching them, the front delt, the biceps nice and elongated. Just want to take that counter position and release. I'm just going to turn like this on the chair for you. Now, interlock the fingers. If you've been told, for those of you with hypertension, not to squeeze the fingers, then don't. And you just place one hand on the other. And we take them up. I'm not looking for this. Not great for pinch nerve nor rotator cuff. Long, loose neck. You can even check in just to see how that neck feels. And then I'm going to bring the arms out wide and push the walls away. I'm not going back. Just out to the side. Right palm pushes right wall. Left palm pushes left wall. Carpal tunnel? No. This is wrist extension. So you're going to straighten those hands and reach out through the middle fingers. Drop the shoulders. And then inhale, turn thumbs down. Exhale, interlock the hands behind you. Lift and open the chest. Hold here. So when you're working out on your own and you're stretching, hold those stretches for a good solid 30 seconds. It's really nice. Now I'm going to sweep the arms out in front. My wrists are lower than the shoulders. I'm going to crisscross the wrists. I'm not interlocking fingers, just extending the fingers. Inhale, exhale. I just focus the eyes down toward the fingers. Don't drop the head, okay? Nice little upper trapezius stretch. Also stretching out the area between the scapulae. And then inhale, crisscross opposite hand, lengthen, depress shoulders, puff up chest. Exhale, just looking at the fingertips without too much of a drop of the head. Belly button is drawn in. Release the arms for the moment. Take some nice big shoulder rolls, not elbow pumps. And then we're going to go for a standard tricep stretch. I'm going to bring the feet a bit wider. And then keeping the sternum up toward the ceiling, the breastbone, I'm going to add in a little bit of a lateral flexion, pushing down into my right heel. Tricep and the whole side of the torso. Inhale, push down into the left heel, return to center. Exhale, just dangle that hand out in front, wrist lower than the shoulder. This is excellent for carpal tunnel because you're stretching those wrist extensors. But not this one. So I would suggest for carpal tunnel, you don't do this and you go back to the wrist extension. And then take it up. And over, turn the sternum up, the breastbone up toward the ceiling. We're not turning down toward the floor, up. Tricep, lateral torso, getting stretched. Inhale, push down into the right heel. Exhale, return to center. Dangle the arm. Wrist extension. And then turn it over. Careful, one not lock out that elbow joint. And release it. Big shoulder rolls. So I want to thank you all again for coming to Boomer and Beyond Wellness and joining us for another workout. Folks, if you like content here, I would really appreciate you subscribing to the channel. It is for free. And perhaps give it a kind comment and maybe a thumbs up, and even share it with someone, and especially to share with people in our demographic who don't have access to a gym and can't afford a personal trainer, to just know that they're welcomed here on this channel. So until next time, stay hydrated. You know I'm whole food, plant exclusive in my approach to my lifestyle. So therefore, I'm going to tell you to eat your greens, eat your beans, and have a super day. Thank you.